Now, speaking of lions' manes, and of course, witnessing a fight like that, you can see how useful having padding around the face and the head is to a male lion. You saw the way that they fought, with claws out, swatting at the face constantly, and the males rearing back to try and protect themselves. You can see how useful a mane really is for a male lion. And females don't do that all that often, but for a male it is very, very useful. Now, of course, our little cubs haven't quite got their full heads of mane yet. And bear with me one moment before I answer John's question. I'm pretty sure that in all of the drama, my microphone, which of course sits in my hat, has come loose somewhere along the line. It was a bit chaotic, hello little ones. So just bear with me for 1 second as I shuffle around. I'm going to hear some funny sounds. Yep, no, that's definitely got tangled up somewhere along the line. Luckily we've got cubs to keep us entertained. There we go. No wonder it sounds muffled. It's all the way down close to the back of my neck. That'll do it. There we go. That should be better. Sorry, John. Yes, lions do get dreadlocks in their manes, is the short answer. There are a few. There was one of the Mapochos was called Rasta, because he always seemed to have dreadlocks, if I'm not mistaken. I never actually saw the Mapocho males, but they do get dreadlocks. Our Birmingham boys always seem to look very well groomed, though. Look at me. I'm a big scary male lion. And speaking of our little cubs, imagine what they learned from today. Chris, our little lion cubs will actually start looking fluffier if they're boys in a couple of months' time. So at around 6 months you can start to see increased fluffiness around their heads. By 2 years old they have a spectacular mohawk that makes them look like gangly teenagers. And then by 3 the mane starts to fill out. It's only when they're about 5 or 6 that, depending on where you are, because obviously in hotter climates that mane is a serious disadvantage. So in hotter climates, even though it is a reproductive tool like horns on antelope, in certain places lions don't grow their manes as quickly as others. So the average for this area is 5 to 6 that it really starts to fill out and head down the shoulders and down the chest and into the armpits. But our little male cubs will start to show signs of fluffiness, which is utterly adorable, by the way. They look so cute when they are just a couple of months old. They're already starting to show signs, I think, if I look at some of them. And look at you. Oh, so gorgeous. And you know something terrible? During all of that, not that I would have had an opportunity, I had Brent's camera. He's going to lynch me when we get home for not taking any photographs, but there was no time. And our little chocolate box lion cubs, all safe and sound. There's Limpy lion cub, looking loads better. I'm so happy that little lion cub is doing okay. Resilient animals. And the lioness leading the cubs into some very dense vegetation. I'm going to make a decision here, probably not to try and follow them. We'll keep with them for now. They might not go too far. But those lionesses, to me, look as though they could do with a really good meal. Oh, here comes last little cub. Quickly, little one, you're going to get left behind. Look at that, it's incredible. Here comes the last cub with the limp. And it's walking almost like nothing ever happened. Bit of a sway to the back legs, to the hips. I'm still convinced it had an injury to its hip rather than to its leg. Now it's just got a little bit of a swing to it. Amazing. It does, it's healed oddly. to me. It still looks a little bit uneven. But this lion cub, from barely dragging its paw along the ground and barely putting any weight and looking distinctly subdued and miserable, to now walking, playing in just a matter of 2 weeks. And that could well have been a break. Andreen, you and me both. I would love to know what the cubs were thinking during all of that. Fear, I think, would have been high up on the agenda, because their instinct must be to get out of those situations, because in this case it was 3 Birmingham boys. But in other scenarios it might have been a strange male lion that had come in and was now attempting to attack the cubs. It wasn't in that case, but it could have been, and the cub's natural instinct must be to try and get away as quickly as possible. And I wonder if the female's fear doesn't spike in that way as well, because their instinct tells them that a male in that kind of mood is a threat no matter what the circumstances. Okay. I'm not going to try and follow them through here. I want to do that. Chris Rogue has put her finger on it. While our lions move off, Chris Rogue has said that she feels as though she's drunk 15 cups of coffee and go in Kahuma girls, which is exactly what I was thinking the whole time. Come on, girls. Come on, girls. It's a very good description. 15 cups of coffee is exactly the way that I feel. I do need to chat to Taxon on the Game Drive comms, so let's jump on the back with HT for now, and I'll catch up with you shortly.
Well, what a picturesque scene. Tranquility at its finest in the African bush there. Elephants feeding in this beautiful morning light. It's just so beautiful to sit here with these creatures, and what an exciting morning it's been. Jamie has had amazing encounters down there with those lion, and very exciting to be around those beautiful, beautiful lions. We're just watching these, it's a small family or breeding herd here. There's 4 individuals with us at the moment, but there's another couple around. There was a youngster here earlier, really young one, under a year old, with his mum, but they seem to be just out of our vision at the moment. We'll definitely keep our eye out for them, and if we can find her, we'll go and see if we can see her. But these 4 have just been feeding away, consuming as all these different types of vegetation, roots, leaves, bark, tiny little shoots coming up out of the ground that they're favouring bark and roots at the moment, kicking over all different species. And some people may refer to what elephants do as damage. Elephant damage, they refer to it as sometimes, but I think my interpretation is that it's not really damage, it's impact. It only becomes damage when elephants don't have enough space. With vast tracts of land, elephants do have an impact on the environment, and they change habitats considerably. But when they do have the space, it can open up habitats for different other species to come in, grasslands, and start to occur. But when the concentration of elephants is quite high in a small area, the impact can be potentially detrimental. So it comes back down to habitat loss, doesn't it? And I think that's what's so important about these wild areas and Greater Kruger, everyone connected around this beautiful place. Hence why we have to make sure we protect these areas. So we had a question before from Magic, and I don't think I answered it properly for you, Magic. Thank you very much for your question and being on board this morning. It is probably my second last drive. I'm going to try and do another one this afternoon, and I was going to try and squeeze another one in tomorrow morning, but I do have to fly back over to Namibia tomorrow, and I don't think I'm going to get a chance, but we'll see how it goes. But gosh, it's been a fantastic time to come back and be with the team, and also to see these incredible animals. Well, this is a fantastic morning, and the lions keep moving in, moving out, doing all different types of things. There's lots of interactions, males coming in, the cubs. There was a bit of fighting earlier this morning, and that's what happens in a lion pride. It's quite tense at times and very peaceful at other times. But we're going to cross over now back to Jamie, because I think the lions have come back. We'll be with these elephants when you come back to us.
Look at this. The sheer courage of little Nkuhuma cubs. One's gone right up to one of the males to go and say hello and to go and explore. Look how brave you are. My goodness me, and it's the one with the limp. Walked straight up and bared its teeth at the male. What you doing? What you doing? Meanwhile, the poor male is trying to sniff the female to see if he's going to get lucky. There we go, that phlegm and grimace. In the meantime, cubs have got no idea what's going on, and this is just the best game ever. Aren't these lion dynamics just amazing? This is what we've been looking forward to, is seeing this interaction. Dad? 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 Dad, pay attention to me, Dad. Aww. Ow. This is amazing in terms of the interaction. So he went to go and have a jolly good sniff of the female and decided that he wasn't going to find any fortune there in terms of mating prospects, and thus has gone off to lie with some of the other females that are in the shade. Oh, the cubs are finding other ways to occupy themselves, which includes showing off their very impressive tree climbing skills. Yes, you got that branch. Very well done. You caught that branch. Amazing. And poor Mom, much put upon, having to deal with a rambunctious family of 5. Now, not all of these are her cubs. I'm not sure which female this is, whether it's the older one or the younger one. Looks like the younger one, in which case she's the mother of the triplets. So gentle. Look, she's also injured. She didn't escape unscathed. She got a little bit of a nick around the side of her mouth. I got this branch and I'm letting go. And those snarling teeth that the female is showing the cubs, absolutely in no way a threat. She's just kind of exhausted, and can you blame her? And especially because these little guys have got some serious milk teeth on them, like little needles, and they don't hold back when it comes to suckling. What you found? What's over there? That's so exciting. I love that look of focus that the lion cubs get in their eyes when something's attracted their attention and they want to go investigate. It's a determination. Perhaps it's something they share in common with toddlers, I'm not sure. Spent much time around them, but I imagine it's something similar. You're welcome, Tax. I don't know what it was, and I don't want to reposition and startle them at all. I've been looking forward to moments like this. Just peaceful, not what we witnessed earlier, but the moments with the Nkuhumas and the Birmingham boys. The Nkuhumas have been, I think, to me, just because in terms of time that I've spent with them, they've become my favourite lions. I don't know why. I think it really might just be the time that I've spent with them. You shouldn't have favourites, but I can't help but become slightly more attached to them because of the time that we've spent with them. Siberia Zumi, I honestly don't know when the Nkuhumas were first seen on Djuma. I'll find out from Taxon and Aubrey. Perhaps they know. They'll be able to give me an answer. And in the meantime, by the way, poor Amber Eyes has not managed to escape the attentions of the male and rejoin her pride. She's thoroughly stranded about 500 meters away. Oh, what's happening over there? Oh, family portraits in this glorious morning light. It's like the lions planned it. It's ridiculous. We should have known from the very first day when all three little triplets lined up and posed perfectly for us. Ah, Amber Eyes is calling. Somebody's had its nose in mud, or water, or something. Let's see if these lions respond. Oh, and wow, I didn't think about that because my grasp of time differences and time zones is a little bit silly. But for those of you who are in the more western parts of the world, it's a lovely reminder that's come through from Dina. Very, very valid point. It is still World Lion Day for those of you in the western half of the world. Lovely, lovely reminder. So, what a spectacular sighting to remind us just how incredible these cats truly are on a special day that's basically just there to remind us to remind us that we should be so invested in conserving them. And our lions have come out in full force to demonstrate just how special they are. Amber Eyes and the males calling behind us, softly. And the other females, are they thinking about going to join her? Trying to rescue her, perhaps? I doubt it. They're hungry. They've got empty bellies and cubs to feed. They don't have time to linger, driven by the need to go and hunt and eat something. And the little lion cubs are now setting up a cacophony of calls to call their mom back. All the lionesses are going in that. Perfect sighting for World Lion Day. Dina, thank you for that reminder. It doesn't get better than this. A family of lions doing what lions do best, giving us an insight into their loving behavior, their protective behavior, and their wild behavior. Watching to see where the females have gone. Amazing the instinct of the lion cubs. They know when to stay and when to follow. They still look so tiny and vulnerable. Yet when we compare them to a couple of months ago when we first saw them, I bet we'd get a fright, actually, as to how much they've grown. The lion cubs do grow incredibly quickly. In 6 months' time, these little cubs are going to be barely recognizable. Just trying to work out exactly what's going on here and where everybody's going. The female has disappeared now. She's gone off to go and hunt. One male is lying down. The other male has gone off back towards where Amber Eyes and the other male are. And the female in front of us is growling at the male. No luck today, boy. Oh, some fresh injuries, a little bit of blood. I think that's the young lioness. So he might be in luck there. She's the only lioness left in this pride that doesn't have cubs or is pregnant, or as far as we know is pregnant. So he might have some luck with the young lioness. She's also played her role in protecting these cubs and playing with them and teaching them the skills they need. Amazing, the social bonds between the lions. It's a good point from Liz, and I'm going to say no, but she's raised an interesting point, which was, do I think the animals are crabby due to the weather conditions or the dryness? Not for the lions, no. So actually, the weather conditions for them recently have been utterly perfect. Hunting is easy, there's water places that they can go, there's plenty of water to drink, they're not reliant on vegetation to eat, so they don't have to worry about the lack of nutrients. And the wind's been howling, we've had a couple of dark nights, plenty of opportunities to hunt, although the females haven't been successful recently, quite possibly because it's a difficult stage with little cubs. I really honestly just think that was fighting over Amber Eyes, who was behaving in a flirtatious manner, probably to distract the males from the cubs. I think the males started fighting over her and the females stepped in to defend the rest of the group. That's what I think played out there, but I'd have to go back and rewatch and look at the footage. But what I'm really noticing in the more and more time we spend with the Nkuhumas and the cubs is just how essential the bonds are between pride mates. And they're the only social big cat, which is why World Lion Day provides us with an opportunity to examine just how fascinating they truly are. Little one, where are you going? Going to go and find the young lioness. Maybe she'll play with you a little bit. Oh, no, there's other lion cubs in there. That's where it was going. Sure. One thing we haven't seen in a while is the 3 youngest cubs. Remember when we started off over the last 2 months, we had 3 young lion cubs around Buffelshoek Dam. And we got to spend time with them when they were just a few months or a few days old. Now, Herbert found the den site once again towards Gowrie Cutline, but that was about 2 weeks ago, and since then we haven't seen any sign of them. I'm really hoping that over the next few days, the next few weeks, they'll be old enough to come out and start to supplement the Nkuhuma pride. And then we will have 8 cubs strong for both the Sticks and the Nkuhumas. Yep, it's a young lioness. Let's think about repositioning. I'm trying to work out where we should go. Just make it. And there you go to Nemo. Yes, there are 8 little cubs. Before I reposition, let's finish answering Nemo's question. There are 8, as far as we know, there are 8 Nkuhuma cubs. The reason that we haven't seen 3 of them is because they're too small. They haven't been out yet. Oh. What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, young lioness, male hoping he's going to get somewhere. Blocking her. Lying down with an exasperated sigh, as if to say, come on, dude. Just let me go past, please. I'm hungry. I want to go and find some food. Nope. Going to settle down here and guard his best prospects. So Nemo, 8 Nkuhumas, 8 Sticks, but the Nkuhumas is not confirmed. Oh, and by the way, all 8 Sticks cubs were back together once again yesterday. We just haven't seen the 3 youngest Nkuhumas with the rest of the pride before, because they are still too young, but they should be getting to the age now where we should be seeing them. Right, we're going to see and decide exactly what we're going to do in terms of which lions we're going to pick to go and look at. We're spoiled for choice this morning, but while we make our decision, let's head back across to Hayden.
What fantastic interaction those lions have had, and what a pleasure it's been to be there with Jamie It's just one of those moments when you have those unforgettable encounters with lion prides. It's just great stuff. We're still sitting with this elephant. Small. That's only a small group. It's only 4 individuals. They are others in the herd, but they're just not visual to us at the moment. And they're through a little bit of vegetation there. We're just sort of staying on the road and watching them, but it's just a good indicator of how long elephants will feed for, approximately 16 hours a day, and they have to consume vast amounts of vegetation to fuel those huge bodies that they have. I'll just move forward a bit. Just move forward for Brian here to get a nicer shot of this one feeding for him. There we go. Is that better, mate? Virginia from California has just asked a question: what's more difficult on the elephants in these hard times, lack of vegetation or lack of water? Well, Virginia, there's always vegetation around at some point here. It might not be the most favourable vegetation for them, but I tell you what we're watching this morning is these guys feasting on different species of plants and just working from one to the next. One time it'll be roots and shoots, and the next time it'll be bark and leaves, and lots of different types of parts of the plants that are being consumed. But I would say water is probably the most important thing. Elephants can wait for a few days. They need water. That's no doubt about it. But they like to drink every day. If they can drink twice a day, brilliant, if there's available water. But sometimes in parts of Africa where water is difficult to find and it's a long way away from food, they will walk to the food and feed for most of the day, and then even feed for 2 days or potentially 3 even without water if it comes to it. But it's more likely about 24 to 48 hours, and then they will move vast areas, or travel long distances I should say, to get to that water. Particularly happens with desert elephant, more in Namibia and more arid places. But here they have a permanent water source. There's 2 permanent water sources on Djuma and several others around excuse me, on the reserves surrounding here. And these elephants will know where they are, and it'll be the matriarch, it'll be the female, or normally the oldest, more experienced female that will make sure that happens on a daily basis. So the welfare of the herd definitely depends on that matriarch. Her leadership is absolutely the most important thing. Just going to try and move into a better position for Brian. I'm just going to go back a little bit further for you, mate. Try and get some of that vegetation out of the way. How's that? But they will have interactions, particularly the males. When the males are fighting for dominancy or over a breeding female, the boys will have tussles that sometimes they look incredibly and sound incredibly fierce, and sometimes they are incredibly fierce. You will have an elephant with a tusk that can definitely fatally wound another elephant. It does happen. It doesn't happen a lot, but they also will break their tusks in fights, particularly the males. But generally speaking, they're a very, very calm, organised. Wow, that's pretty cool. Look at that strength. Wanting to try and get down to some nice roots or some particular part of the tree that they want, and they will just work their way through like a buffet, really, picking and choosing what they want from the vegetation. So to answer your question, there is definitely conflict within elephants. they're a little bit intolerant when it comes to being at a water point with other animals. They like to drink alone. Birds won't necessarily worry them, but when there are other animals at water holes, they normally try to push them away, and the other animals understand that, and they wait their turn. But generally speaking, it's quite peaceful in the herd. The matriarch keeps everyone calm, and if you do see the animals go into a defensive pattern, they will normally form a defensive ring around the youngsters and go completely silent. And then the female, the matriarch in charge, she will dictate what happens next. Thank you for your question, and thank you very much for watching with us. Magical has got another question about which elephants are affected mostly by the drought, the adults or the babies. Look, they will go to great lengths to look after their young. If it's a youngster that is still suckling, then they've got it pretty good in the sense that they'll be staying very, very close to the mother. When they're that young, they spend half their time, within probably about 5 yards within their mum, and they will go out and start to experiment. But occasionally closely related females, I think I've seen, will cross-suckle others' calves, and that depends obviously if the other females are lactating as well. But the bond between the mothers and the daughters lasts for such a long time, up to 50 years. But I think that the babies will obviously suffer just because of the lack of water, the lack of their mother's vigour as well. If their mother is not in a healthy state, they will suffer. But normally they all keep up. It'll be a severe drought, Magic, for the elephants to suffer that badly. They'll always make a plan. They also can dig for water. They've got an incredible ability to smell water. So I would say that, yes, the little ones would suffer to a point, but they did go to great lengths to look after their whole family. So we're just going to sit with these elephants for a little bit because it's just such a beautiful place to sit. Brian and I are feeling a bit warmer as well, which is great. The sunshine is now beaming down on us, and it's just lovely to watch this behaviour with the elephants. They're so comfortable with us, and we did have a bit of a drive around and look for some other things. We might do that again and see if there's anything up on Impala Plains, but for now we're going to cross over to the wonderful James Hendry and see what he's up to on bushwalk. We'll see you right now.
There, everybody. I must apologise for our absence. Gendre broke the backpack, didn't you, Gendre? He's very silent. You can hear everybody. He's very contrite and sorry for himself. He broke the backpack. We don't know what he did. He says it was just some battery glitch or something. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He promise you he broke it. Anyway, what we're looking at here is, he didn't really, is a blue waxbill's nest in the branches or boughs of a flaky bark acacia. And this acacia tree has provided homes for many animals, provided nutrition for many animals, and indeed it has provided a rubbing post for a number of animals. And obviously the home there. Now, if you look at it, it's got a number of fairly large thorns, and here's one of them. This one has not been occupied, but here's one that has. I'll just pull it off without impaling myself on one of these rather impressive thorns. I mean, you wouldn't want to stand on that. It's the kind of thing that Gendre would stand on, and of course it would go through his boots into his foot, and then he'd require help getting to the doctor, as he did last time. It was very irritating, everyone. He couldn't drive a car. So I had to take him to the doctor while he sat there with this swollen, disgusting, pussy foot. Right, there... there is the spongy material that the slender ant will eat when they go in here. Now, there are no ants around. I think that's because we're in the middle of the winter. But you can see that there is this sort of swelling, and that swelling, it's obviously a hormone that inspires the growth of some sort of spongy stuff inside the thorns. and apparently it's very good to eat for a slender ant. I'm going to eat some now. Tastes like chocolate, John Ray. It doesn't really taste like chocolate. It does taste... I'll say there's a sort of taste of nutrition about it. Anyway, you're in for a treat, everybody. Connor Teagues is driving past us. That's only funny because Connor, if there's one thing in the world he hates, it's to be on camera. Right, so those are the two of the things that are in this tree. And I'm going to show you one more thorn, just to prove that something did actually live in it and eat it out. Jean-Andre, I can't get it off. You just put the camera here. Look over here. See there? Are you with me? You can see there that that spongy stuff's been eaten out by the slender ants. I think that's wonderful. Then, if we look down here at the base of the tree, you can see that it's been subjected to a bit of abuse, this poor tree. It's been rubbed upon, I think probably by buffalo initially. You can see there's mud here. The impala don't move in the mud. They'll obviously go and drink, but they don't put mud all over their body, so I think that this was probably rubbed upon by a buffalo that came past here, decided he was probably a little bit itchy, and I don't know if you've seen what buffalo do, but it wouldn't have just walked past the thing. It probably did this. It probably pushed it over, and then sort of walked over the top of it and lay on top of the tree, and they scratch their undercarriages like that, and then they leave the mud everywhere. But the tree's still alive. And apparently, if you've got sore eyes, what you do is you take pieces of these bark and then you can soak this bark in water. So you can see it there, this flaky bark. You can soak that in water, and apparently you can put a sort of diluted part of the decoction into your eye, and that will help it. I suspect water probably works just as well. Now, Tasha Michelle, I think that was your name, was that correct? Tasha Michelle? You want to know if anybody else will use this nest over here? Tasha, I don't think so, no. And I mean, I suppose the waxbills might come back during the next during the next mating season, which will be very soon. But no, I don't think anything else is going to use it. The birds are very specific about their nests. I'm trying to think of any that steal from others. Yeah, I mean, some of the hole nesting birds will go and steal from each other. So the barbets and the woodpeckers and probably the lilac-breasted rollers, they might steal nests from each other or use nests that were previously occupied by others. Parrots, the same thing. Not these ones. They tend to be very specific, the owners and builders of the tree nests. Right, Chandra? We can carry on. Hello, Dina. You want to know if those thorns would have been used? No, definitely not. They're not very strong. They're not very strong. We're going to stand still. Apparently, we're losing signal. They're not very strong thorns, so I don't think they'd be particularly effective weapons. I suppose at close quarters they might be, but no. Local people out here were Iron Age people. Well, there were Stone Age people. The San, the Bushmen that were in this area, they're Stone Age people, so they would have used flint and sort of hand axes made of stone, or axes attached to shaped stone put on the end of sticks, and they would have sharpened sticks for spears as well, and perhaps used sort of stone implements. Then when the Shangaan people came in here, and they're the indigenous people that live here now, they were Iron Age people, so they were already smelting iron ore, and they would have used iron, and yeah, it would have been largely iron for weapons and for tools. Okay, let's go across to Jamie. She's still with those amazing lions. We're going to try and find some better signal.
We're actually with a different group of lions. I had two missions for once we left the cubs. The cubs, by the way, went with their moms into some very, very thick bush where we couldn't follow them, into the river system that runs through that block. I decided I was going to come and find Amber Eyes first, see how she was doing. and then try and follow the other lioness. Sorry everybody, I'm having problems with my microphone. There we go, that should be better. That'll make life a bit easier. Sorry for the tapping. In all of the chaos, my microphone keeps pulling down my back and trying to escape into my ponytail, which is definitely not where we want it. So I've actually killed 2 birds with 1 stone here, accidentally, in that I found Amber Eyes and the other female that got up and moved. My suspicion was, after she got up and moved, I realized that she was probably the mother of the youngest set of cubs. Now, I can't see the faces clearly enough. I think that's Amber Eyes sleeping there, and I think that the other female was going to feed those cubs and got distracted by the presence of one of her pride mates. You see the separation here. The female's on the left and the male on the right. And after all of that, no luck for our male lions. It doesn't seem as though any of the females are all that interested in their prospects. And all is peaceful now. It's it's incredible after what we just witnessed. It just goes to show with the live safari is that you just never know what to expect. The animal's behavior can be so unpredictable. Okay, sorry, bear with me. I just need to speak to Mike on the Game Drive comms. Mike for Jamie. Oh, morning, Mike. Most of the Ngala have gone into the Skorva between Mvubu and Galago shortcut, but I've got 2 Mafazis, 1 Madora here just off Mvubu Road. It's just myself here. You're welcome to join. Copy, I'll let you know when I have your audio. Is that fly irritating you, mister? Oh, battle-scarred Birmingham boy. Obviously, you just heard me chatting to Mike on the Game Drive comms about the Ngala. And that, of course, is the way that we refer to lions. It's one of the local words. The Shangaan word, Ngala, is a combination. It's also something that's used in Zulu as well. And we use a bit of a hodgepodge of different languages on the Game Drive comms. But we very seldom, we sometimes use English, but a lot of the time we use the Shangaan terms. Michael wants to know, apart from Ngala, what are the other terms that we use for lions on the Game Drive comms? The only other term we will use is Ngala. Is lion. We'll say it in English. We don't use the Sotho term, which is Tau. T-A-U. Tau is another word for lions, but we are up in more of a Shangaan area, so we tend to say Ngala rather than... In fact, I don't know many game reserves that use the word Tau. There's lots of them called Tau, but not many will use the word Tau on their Game Drive comms or their Game Drive radio. And of course, the Game Drive radio is one of our most valuable tools out here, and it might interrupt our train of thought every now and again, but it is invaluable in terms of planning your drive, making sure that we get some amazing sightings, the guests get amazing sightings, and we basically share our expertise in terms of finding the different animals, making sure that we spread out and manage to find as much as possible. And Justin S. has brought back up a question that I answered from one of the kids earlier, which was a tricky one to answer, especially in the middle of what was occurring. But one of the kids that were watching from the school drive this morning wanted to know whether or not lions will ever eat each other if they are hungry. And Justin S. was wondering if they will ever participate in cannibalism. Yes, there are recorded cases. What often happens, probably the most common case or the common occurrence of lion cannibalism, is when a male lion has killed another lion during a territorial takeover. So you see it often with males. They will kill their rival and then they will nibble a little bit around. They generally don't tuck in properly. It's up to the hyenas to finish off a lion carcass. And if they happen to stumble upon a dead lion, they might chew on it a little bit, but generally they tend to avoid that level of cannibalism. There are recorded cases as well of lionesses eating their cubs in desperate times, which sounds to us absolutely terrifying. But if you think about it in terms of nature, the cubs are not going to survive anyway if the mother's in that terrible condition, and her instinct tells her that she must do whatever she needs to in order to survive, which might include eating the cubs so that she remains alive and can produce the next set of cubs. But those circumstances are incredibly unusual. Male lions also sometimes eat the cubs that they have killed during a pride takeover. Most of the time, though, they kind of chew on them a bit. Sorry, this is very macabre conversation. They kind of chew on them for a little bit and then leave them to the hyenas to go and collect. And now that everything has relaxed with our magnificent lions, let's go over to Hayden and his true kings of the bush.
Well, that's absolutely right, Jamie. The true kings of the bush, this beautiful breeding herd. We actually were only with 4 of the individuals, and we went and had a little drive to see where the rest of them were. And we came around the corner, and we found another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 individuals. Beautiful maternal care going on here, and particularly this big female in your view at the moment has just moved on to another bit of her African bush buffet that she's having this morning, and right in front of us is some beautiful interaction happening with a little calf. Really tender moments that you see in elephant herds, and that's one of the most beautiful things that the mother and offspring have with each other. You'll have frequent touching, with the trunk and the feet with each other. And this is potentially a relative. There's lovely tender care between the elephants, particularly the mother and calf. Mother's just behind her, you can just see her trunk there. And you'll just start to see some interaction. So when the baby is born, they're looking at a pretty decent sized calf. We're looking at something around the size of about 120 kilograms, which is about 260 pounds roughly. That is a big baby. And the mother is always with that baby, helping it to its feet, using the mother's foot and trunk if it falls over, and they just use that trunk like a helping hand with their babies. It's beautiful. If it's really beating heat, I've also seen the mothers push the real youngsters underneath them to get them out of the sun. But this little baby might come and investigate us a little bit more. We'll just see. I've got a question from Natasha in Ontario. Fantastic to have you with us. You want to know what is the heaviest tree that an elephant can push over? Well, I don't think I could answer that accurately, Natasha, in the sense of how heavy the tree is, but I've seen them push over some incredibly big trees that you just don't think are possible. But it's the big bulls that do knock over those trees, and they use their head and their trunk, and they're sort of just where their trunk leaves their head in the length of it, and they push, and they'll use their body weight, they'll lean against it. But we might be able to find one either this morning. I'm not sure if we'll get it in this morning, Natasha, but if you're watching and you do have the opportunity to stay with us for the afternoon drive, I'll try and see if we can find a big tree that they have pushed over to show you, because it's easier to show you a visual of that. Immense strength. You are looking at a big male that's about, again, my conversions from kilos to pounds aren't fantastic, so I'm going to have a go for you. But look, it's about 6,000 kilograms is a really super big bull, but they've even gotten bigger, and that's going to be looking up around well plus 13,000 pounds in a big bull. So it is an immense creature. We've got a little bit of a tussle going on over here, Brian. Two individuals just down here, mate. I don't know whether they're having a bit of a disagreement about food. They're about the same age, but they had a little, look at that strength there in that female. Wow. So she's just ripped up that acacia and she just wants to get the roots at the moment she's interested in. And using those two fingers on the two fingers on the prehensile trunk, little finger-like tips on that end of that trunk, and she delicately places those in her mouth. And she's got a really young calf just coming up behind. He might give us a little show of himself just now. He's just his feet under there. Here he comes. He's very beautiful. And this is the one I was looking for before. We found this little calf this morning, and he came up and had a little bit of an investigation. He's still even getting to know what his trunk's used for. When they're born, it's just really wonderful to watch. Just a little vocalization there. Got a little comment from Amy. Welcome aboard, Amy. Great to have you with us. You saying you love how little elephants, baby elephants, flop their trunks around. I do as well. It's very funny. They don't really know what it's for. Look at this little one here. I think there's even a younger one somewhere, so I don't think that's the one I was thinking about. There's a little bit of wrestling going on here. And that could be a brother or a relative. Fantastic to see, isn't it? If it does get out of hand, so that could... Interesting, isn't it? Interesting, so that could be actually the baby's brother or sister. I think it could be a sister, and then, you know, don't mess with my little sibling. Who knows? But these two were having a little bit of a tussle before anyway. Just lovely interaction. But Natasha, you're right. When they're born, that little trunk, they don't really get what that's for. And they spin it around and flop it around and tread on it and all sorts of things. But then they do figure out it's one of the most important parts of their bodies. It's going to be used to feed, to communicate, to drink. They don't actually drink through their trunk, and I'm sure everyone knows that. They draw water up in their trunk and then push it into their mouth. Hello, my boy. You coming to say hello? You coming to say hello? We're just here to observe. We've got a question from MC Chef. Are elephants really scared of mice? No, I don't think so. MC. I think there's hello. There's a couple of little vocalizations going on here. I'm not really sure where that came from. I've worked with elephants in certain zoos, and there might be the odd little mousie that gets in there to try and get a little bit of food, which happens in all animal related areas. And I've never actually seen an elephant get afraid from a mouse. So, that they do find some things a little bit odd. They definitely don't like the sound of bees. I've seen that happen before. Accidentally disturb a beehive in a tree, and that really did make the elephants, particularly the matriarch, gave the call, and they skedaddled. They got out of there as quickly as they could. And I don't know whether it was the sound or what it was, but I think there's even some trials of the sound of bees being used to try and deter elephants from certain areas. But thanks for your question, and such a beautiful sound. Great to have you on board this morning with us. Really using that foot and that trunk to dig up the roots. And each individual will have a different preference. Some will be eating bark, leaves, roots, shoots. Hello, my girl. Hello, my girl. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, darling. This little one down here is very, very cool. So you can hear them munching away, crunching, munching away down there, and they're grinding up this vegetation in a pretty incredible set of teeth. Ah yes, the baby elephant walk, there's nothing like it. Where's Mum gone? Whoa, where's Mum gone? Ah, there she is. Relax. So I'm just going to stay where we are on this location. I don't want to move down any closer because we've got probably 10 of the animals up on the left, and we've got about 2 or 3 down the other side, and us driving in between the herd is not an advisable thing, and it's not a respectful thing either. So we'll just sit and be and see what they do, but that was a beautiful encounter with those animals, and I'll talk to you more about the teeth when we come back. But for the minute, let's cross over to Jamie and see what she's up to with the lions.
And so we're going to enjoy